Okay, there's two questions here in finishing. Do you want to maybe read them both and we'll chat about them?
Yeah,
Because you're
great.
a better reader and better at England and grammar than I am.
So Joe says, I am a low-income earner and self-employed, so I put $500 into super to get the government co-contribution. Is it true I can't also put in an intent to claim on this money also? Is it one or the other?
Yeah, and do you want to read the next one?
And Kirk asks, hello gang, when should a notice of intent to claim on super contributions for tax reductions be done? Does it need to be before the end of financial year or before you do your tax? I don't have access to a printer right now, so I was wondering if I've missed the boat. Thanks for any help.
Yeah, so these are kind of similar. So we know that the government co-contribution, remember back in the day, if you put 1,000 in, they would put 1,000 in.
Yeah, and it's income.
Well, you have to, the thresholds, I think, if you've got to earn under $47,488 to get the maximum entitlement, and it tapers out up to about $62,488. So basically, that contribution, it has to go in as a post-tax contribution. So from your own bank account, money that you've received, if you're an employee, you've already paid tax on it, you put that money into your super, put $1,000 in, they'll give you $500 or tapering out up to that maximum income.
I see. I've never looked into it, but I always thought it was you could salary sacrifice it in.
Okay. If you want to get really technical, some employers, you can salary sacrifice the non-concessional.
Okay.
A personal contribution. So in Superland, and this is why I love having you on the show, because you're in the property mortgage world.
I do not
every
know
day.
any of this stuff.
Yeah, but you know enough to hold a conversation, which is awesome. So there's broadly two ways to get money into super. They call it a concessional contribution, which is money that is paid in before you pay tax on it, and the super fund take 15% tax. You can currently put $30,000 a year in, but that includes the 12% that the employer pays.
Yep.
Okay. Then you can put your own money in of up to $120,000 a year after tax. And then there's bring forwards and catch-ups and all that. Now, you can, depending on the fund and the employer, say to your employer, can you put $20 a week into super as a salary sacrifice? Ordinarily, the default would likely be a concessional contribution. So for the employer, if someone was paid $50,000 and you said, I want a salary sacrifice $1,000 a year, they would add that, and then on your notices of assessment, it would say your income is $49,000.
Yep.
Okay, so that's concessional contribution. Some funds, it could change. You used to see it on forms. If my team said do this, I'd probably say, nah, do it yourself, but I probably would. Not that you, I don't know if you would, but you could, in theory, ask your employer, I think, to salary sacrifice as a non-concessional contribution.
Okay.
So they would put that $1,000 a year in post-tax. So you're on your notice of assessment, it would say you've earned $50,000 and your taxable income's $50,000. So what you can do, you can put money out of your bank account into super, and this is what Kirk's getting at. I think within the last 10 years they changed it. So ordinarily you used to have to just be self-employed to be able to put your own contributions in and claim it on tax. So how that works is when you put – so if I had money in my bank account and I wanted to put $1,000 into super, it would just sit in the super fund as $1,000. And then at the end of the year, if I wanted to claim that $1,000 on tax, I have to tell the super fund that I'm giving them a notice and intent to claim. So I tell the super fund online that I want to make that $1,000 that I personally put in a deductible contribution. So the super fund will take the 15% tax off it, or $150, then I can claim that $1,000 on my tax return.
Oh.
So a couple of things here. Joe, the government co-contribution can only be a personal non-concessional contribution. You can't tell them to, because then in the background, Rach, the super fund take the $150 from that $1,000 contribution, pay the government, and then move it to the tax component in the fund, because there's different tax components within the fund. So the government co-contribution, it's post-tax only. So in answer to your question, Joe, is it true that I can also put an intent to claim in on this money? No, you can't. It's a personal contribution. $1,000 stays in the super fund. Financial year ticks over. That $1,000 stays in there as an after-tax contribution.
So it's one or the other.
Yeah. Now, for Kirk's question, you can put so if Kurt put 10 grand in to his super fund, we've just had the end of the financial year. At the end of the financial year, if he wants to claim that $10,000 on his tax return, which would mean if he earned $50,000, he would only be taxed at $40,000, but the super fund takes the 15% tax off that.
Yeah.
If Kirk wanted to do that, he just has to do it before he does his tax return, number one. Number two, if you are going to roll over your super to another fund, you have to do it before you roll it over, because once you roll money out of super, they will transfer all your money to the new super fund. The new super fund will just receive a statement. They call it an ETP, and it'll say these are the tax components. So, Kirk, you would need to, and you can do it at the end of the financial year if you know what the amount is going to be and lock that down. You need to do it before you move super funds or pay any rollovers or anything, so they can move the tax components within the fund and take the tax off it. Because if Kirk put the $10,000 in, didn't do this notice of intent to claim, then moved super funds, it's crystallised and stuck in the fund, and he can't then claim it on tax.
And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I don't have access to a printer right now, so you must be with an old fund. A lot of funds you can log in and do it online. Now, back to the concessional or the concessional contributions caps, Rach, if Kirk, for example, his salary meant that his employer put 20 grand of super payments in, right? Gross. For that financial year, he's got $10,000 extra because it's a $30,000 cap. So he can transfer $10,000 into his super fund and claim it as a deduction. What you can do is at the end of the financial year or the start of the new financial year before you're doing your tax return, if Kirk has put $10,000 in as a personal contribution, thinking that, work did 20, and he does the numbers and it's like, oh crap, work actually put $25,000 in and I put 10 in, I can't claim the whole amount. So what Kirk can do when he does the notice of intent to claim form or the tick box online, you can tell the super fund, last year I put $10,000, or I put $10,000 into super fund. Of that $10,000, I want to make $5,000 a deductible contribution to get to the cap of $30,000 and leave $5,000 as a personal contribution. That means he can only claim $5,000 on his personal tax return.
And if he hasn't done that by June 30, because we're at that end of financial year, and he doesn't do his tax until March of next year, he can do that
as
then.
As long as he does it before March, but I would say do it sooner than later, because if you've got insurance rollovers or anything like that, you just want to get those tax components locked in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just a good bit of housekeeping there. Hey, it's Glen here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favour? Can you hit that like button And maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.